February 12th, if you wouldn't mind standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a brief moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moment of silence. Any public concerns this evening? Annie.
Hi.
You might want to come up to the microphone tonight since we're being televised.
I was going to be last.
Yeah.
I'm Annie. I'm with Cowboys and Angels. Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
My concern is about the bench. I'm not a troublemaker, though I might look like a troublemaker. I swear I'm not. 2 years ago, I had stood here, and when we all started talking about the streetscape, and I had some folks from the council come down and measure the bench. It met all the guidelines as far as distance. It exceeded the guidelines. I think it was 48 inches. And it even did 36 inches. It was didn't impede the traffic. So, with that being said, I thought, okay, we're clear. For 2 years, I had the bench there. We've had lots of the public come, take pictures of the bench. Customers came in and said, it's beautiful, can we buy the bench, that kind of thing. It's a great bench. So I got a letter, I guess about 4 months ago, and it said if I didn't remove the bench, I would be fined. So, ego, you know, I wasn't a criminal, I wasn't trying to pull one over on anybody. So I was shocked, but being a rule follower, I had the bench removed. I would like to have the bench come back if possible. I think it's aesthetically beautiful. It's in our town calendar. You know, I think it adds to the attraction of Main Street. And when I look at other benches along the street, some of them are, you get splinters sitting on them. So I didn't understand why that bench in particular had to be taken away, and I'd like to have it back.
Okay. Well, I think this might be an HTC issue. Okay. So I think we'll certainly take it under advisement and then maybe get to the HTC and then see if
say yes to the bench.
Say yes to the bench. All right, but thank you. Yeah, so we'll get that. We'll have some discussions with them and then see what can be done about it.
So what would the issue be with having it not returned?
Where did the letter come from?
Yeah.
It came from, at the time, it was from Dawn's office, I believe.
Okay.
That was on behalf of the Historic District Commission because since the original measurements were taken, that had nothing to do with the Historic District Commission. And then since then, the Historic District Commission developed a set of guidelines, because there were none, for street furniture. And it was based on those newly established guidelines set forth by the HDC that the letter was drafted and was sent to Annie's storefront. So it is a Historic District Commission thing, as you said, Mayor.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we'll refer it back to them and then see.
One of the cool things about Main Street is that it is different and artistic. You know, people are coming to Main Street, not going to malls because they don't want the cookie cutter look. You know, and I think it just added to the appeal of the environment.
And since it already existed and people were already enjoying it, could it be grandfathered in?
Well, first of all, this was just a moment for the agenda items to be added to.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, because it really is not. So, but what we'll do is go back and then see how the best way to deal with that, and at the Historic District Commission level, they can see if there's ways to work around it. I think.
Great.
Well, I appreciate you bringing it to our attention so we can forward it to them, and thanks for coming tonight for sure. So, all right. Anything else? Righty. So just to be clear, these are things we want to find out about, but we may not work them all out right now. I didn't want people to be like, okay, time to work them all out.
So I will
keep it very short
Okay.
now, but
Yep.
when I do have time to speak, I would like to have time to be able to say my piece.
Sure.
So I found out yesterday that in open session, the Blue Caboose update is on the agenda, and I would like to address that, please.
Okay. All right. Yeah, yep, so thank you. First order of business, we'd like to introduce our new town manager, Aretha Adams.
Hello, everyone.
This is our first meeting with her, so she's excited to be here, and we're excited to have her. So it's an exciting time here at Sykesville, so welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right, and then minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review the January 22nd minutes?
Carrie, did you get my changes?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't see anything come out again.
Oh.
Did you?
I thought I did.
Okay.
It's on the website. I have a copy
Okay.
if you want to look at it.
No, it's fine.
No, it's
I just wanted to
nothing.
make sure.
Yes, your changes were
Okay.
added.
Awesome.
Go ahead, because I saw them.
Okay.
Yeah,
Motion to approve the January 22nd minutes as revised.
I second that.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
One is abstention.
Okay. All right, so the minutes are approved. All right, reports, treasurer's report. Evelyn, you're up.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I've emailed you the December treasurer's report, and Julia had a few questions, which I've answered. Do you have any further questions, Julia?
I gave Derek a copy of that fire extinguisher invoice.
Okay.
And I may want you to look back at the there must be other invoices, because that was just for Public Works.
Yes.
Because he thinks that's too many fire extinguishers for just Public Works.
Okay.
So I'm concerned we may have some double billing there.
Okay.
And then I just want to get with the chief afterwards to talk about the vehicle maintenance.
Okay.
Any other questions for Evelyn?
I don't have any.
Well, thank you, Evelyn, for doing a great job. I wanted to thank you publicly she's really expedited the budget process for us this year to get ahead of the curve, because I knew Aretha was going to have a lot on her plate, so thank you. And we're still working on stuff. Everybody's got their capital in, so that's good, but thank you for expediting that. I know it was a little painful, but it'll be hopefully easier on the second half now.
I'm sure.
Thank
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we accept the December 2017 Treasurer's Report.
Second. Pick one. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the treasurer's report's approved. All right, Chief, Public Safety Report.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We are going to talk about the public safety report covering the period January 19th through February the 8th. During that time, we handled a total of 470 events, and I'll run through just a quick accounting of those events. We had two business alarms, 17 assist other agency, 1 civil matter, 3 community policing events, 1 court, 10 follow-up investigations, 16 foot patrols, 2 grant enforcement initiatives, 4 house checks, 17 incident reports, which are reflected on pages 2 and 3 of your packet, 7 motor vehicle accidents, that were just property damage only, 5 meetings, 2 motorist assists, 7 other, 2 parking violations, 270 patrol checks, 2 public service, 16 SCRO sign-offs, 20 special assignments, 4 suspicious persons, 4 suspicious vehicles, 4 special assignments, 4 suspicious vehicle, 1, let me try that one more time. 4 special assignments, 4 suspicious persons, 1 suspicious vehicle, 2 traffic complaints, 49 traffic enforcement initiatives, 2 traffic hazards, 1 training, 1 vehicle maintenance, and 2 welfare concerns, for a total of 470 events. Any questions on any of the incidents listed on page 2 or 3 of your packet?
Not about
2 or 3, but about assist other agencies. We used to, as part of the report, have a breakdown of what the incident was that they went to assist, and that's really not reflected anymore. Is that something you just...
We could easily add that.
Okay.
I know one of them was listed here on page, I think, 2.
Yeah, but there were 17.
Sure.
Just be a matter of printing those out and adding them to the report.
Okay, I think that would be helpful, just to know what they're getting called out for, out of the area for.
Will do.
Thanks.
That would be nice, but I will say this, I have noticed a definite partnership with the Carroll County Sheriff's Department. It's a lot better than it used to be. So I noticed when I've seen our guys sometimes come down, they're right behind them, which is really good to see sometimes.
Well, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
They back us up and cover the town when we don't, have somebody working or have somebody call out sick or whatever, and we back them up as well when they're in the area or when we get dispatched by the state police or the sheriff's office to handle a call within the immediate, border boundaries of our town. One particular incident is listed on here on page 2, Oklahoma Road in Eldersburg, where the state police had no other available units, dispatched one of our units to handle an accident at that location.
Yeah, it was a lot more one-sided in the past, but I've got a feeling that now.
We've reined them in and put an eye on it.
So thank you. Yeah, it's a lot better.
Criteria that they know, when they're allowed to go outside of town and act in an official capacity, and they do a pretty good job of following the policy.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's a lot better. And then I guess I don't have any other questions on this, but I wanted to follow up on some of the speed cameras, but I don't know if you're there yet. Are you going to get to that? Or the trailer reports for some of that? Like
I did not include that with your package.
Okay.
We had some issues with the power. What basically was happening was the speed trailer would be deployed for several days, and even with the solar power panel that we added to it, if the power ran out, we would lose all our data.
That stinks.
That's not supposed to happen. We've been in contact with the manufacturer. They had us switch the SD cards to see if it was an issue with the SD cards, which we did. We ran several tests, and it's still doing it. So, in fact, today, Mark Onheiser is helping us with, he's had some contact with the manufacturer. We've made a call to them, and we're going to work out. It's all covered under warranty. It may just be a box that we can send back instead of the whole unit, and to have that repaired at no cost. And so that'll fix this issue. But in the meantime, we have still run it and deployed it. I didn't bring the list, but I can get that to you. But again, if we allow it to die without bringing it in to recharge it, we'll lose all the data.
It stinks. Yeah.
It's not supposed to do that. It's just like a computer. If your computer dies and you have an SD card in it, you generally don't lose your data.
Right.
But for some reason, it was happening with this trailer. So we're going to work it out.
All right.
Any other questions?
Any other questions for the chief?
Let me off easy tonight?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Better be quiet while I can.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, and the council committee reports, everybody submitted those. Thank you. Okay, announcements for President's Day. The town offices will be closed on Monday, February 19th. That's it. So, open session, our first item of business this evening is the Blue Caboose update. So John Frank is here from the Howard County Living Farm Heritage Museum. So if you want to come on up and give us an update. This is the organization that we donated the caboose to. Since then, we've had some interest from folks where the caboose is. So that's the reason that we reached out to you to get an update on what the process would be and what the plan is.
Sure.
So.
Thank you all for having us out here this evening. With me tonight is Mr. Paul Diamond. He's a member of the board of directors at the Living Farm Heritage Museum, as well as the chairperson of the train project itself. My name is John Frank. I'm the president of the Howard County Antique Farm Machinery Club, Incorporated, which in fact is a nonprofit that runs and develops Howard County's Living Farm Heritage Museum. And we've been engaged in this process at the facility since 2005. when we entered into a long-term arrangement with Howard County government for the strict purpose of building the museum and then managing it. So if you're familiar with the facility, it's approximately 400 acres. There's over 6.5 miles of nature trail. There's over 21 structures there that makes up the Living Farm Heritage Museum. And the museum itself is based on 2 time components. The first time component is that spring, summer, fall, winter process that's engaged in agriculture activities. So there's a lot of that living demonstrations and presentations and things that go on at the museum with regards to agriculture. The second time component is our travel through time, and that's where the explanation for the Blue Caboose comes into play. As you know, this area has a rich history in trains. I was just looking at one of your pamphlets out here on the desk. It talks about the trains of Carroll County and the various communities to include Sykesville. We're aware of that as well. And all these places have become dormant. And very many of the examples of the various towns, whether it's Mount Area, wherever it may be, Sykesville, no different. We have the ability to put in an actual operating train. It was in our conceptual plan back in 1995 when we conceived of the Living Farm Heritage Museum, and when we were able to enter into that arrangement with Howard County government with such a large acreage of ground, it played right into that component of the Living Farm Heritage Museum. So we plan on having approximately 2.5 to 3 mile train ride. That's all been approved by our Recreation and Parks Advisory Board and through our government within Howard County's local government. We, as a result of that, purchased a locomotive, a 1953 Plymouth Switcher engine, 40 tons. We brought it 500 miles from Asheville, North Carolina through 5 states here to Howard County, Maryland, back in January of 2016. We also brought in a 1909 flat car that we will be transitioning into a passenger riding car. And then that's where the Blue Caboose came into play. We had dialogue some 3.5, almost 4 years ago with the town of Sykesville and its representatives at the time. Caboose had fallen into significant disrepair, and we were more than happy to take that project on with the expectation of completely restoring it, putting it on an actual operating train opportunity for people in this region and all across the country and even the world to be able to come to this area, ride on a train where trains started. We know from Baltimore to Ellicott City is where the first trains ran, and although they don't get a whole lot of recognition, that's where it all started. And they ran up and down this area of the Penobscot River way before they were in Gunsmoke and Bonanza and all those other places out west of here. So since then, we've brought in the locomotive, we brought in the flat car. We've been working diligently for over 3 years to get the Blue Caboose, that is affectionately known as, I think by just about everybody, relocated just a half a dozen miles to the Living Farm Heritage Museum in West Friendship. We've had the state police involved, we've had the highways department involved, we've had internal commerce involved as far as hauling large loads across the state highways. I actively participated with previous leadership within the offices of Sykesville Town offices, and the only real challenge, all those groups are all on board and waiting patiently for us to move this caboose. Our biggest challenge has been CSX. As you may be aware of, the caboose sets on their line, it's their right of way, and you just can't go there and pick the caboose up, can't move it around. You really can't go there and even climb up on it and show it off or anything. They're pretty strict about that kind of stuff. So we had put a plan together over 3 years ago to be able to relocate the caboose approximately 400 feet west down the tracks, take it off above at the start of the Southern States parking lot area, be able to bring it into that area on some old existing rail, and then be able to then pick it up off of its trucks, put the body itself on the first lowboy truck and then the 2 trucks on the second, take it right over to West Friendship, reverse that process, come through town with a prearranged time frame and route of travel. So all of appropriate agencies, law enforcement, and everybody would be engaged in that process. That communication was sent to the town offices here several years ago, and then again just recently at the request of Mr. David Deutsch.
You got it.
Okay, thank you very much. And so that's where we're at today. What CSX has kind of requested us to do on some occasions is just show up and we'll pick the caboose up, put it in one of your trucks that you have scheduled and move it. Then on other occasions, their position has been significantly different, where all the people participating in the move have to go through a rather extensive safety program that costs about $1,500 a person to do that. And when we put all that together, we were quickly into the $12,000 to $15,000 range just to move the car approximately 300 feet. So we're still in negotiations with CSX, and my position with the with Dave, the interim town manager, was to see if you all would be willing to, at the very least, maybe assist us with some communications with CSX. I think it's probably reasonable that the leadership, town council, would have a little more pull with CSX than the Anti-Farm Machinery Club, Living Farm Heritage Museum, and see if we could get this project to move forward in a timely manner. We're constantly working on the project as far as putting in additional track. We brought in over 11 loads of railroad ties from people that have donated it around the region, most predominantly the National Trolley Museum in Cloverly, Maryland. There's a number of other agencies from B&O and stuff that are in support of our project. And more importantly, not only because of the history of trains in this region, but also the local community. We're in Carroll County, Maryland, but we're just a stone's throw from the line here at Sykesville. We all partner with different types of activities and parks and various things in the region. With this caboose project, a part of our train ride through time, gives us the opportunity to not only promote the Living Farm Heritage Museum, but the region as a whole, certainly the generous contribution of the town of Sykesville and how, the role that you all have played in this process. So we're still very focused on acquiring and relocating the caboose. We appreciate the generous contribution that you've made to us. We just need to make sure through our efforts with CSX, we're prepared to pay for the transportation, relocation, all those things that make common sense. It's a little hard for us to justify $15,000 or $20,000 expense before we can move it 300 feet. So unfortunately, that's probably the same kind of expense that anybody would have to face, whether it's us as a nonprofit acquiring it or some other group. So we're still very interested in getting it relocated, getting it refurbished, and getting it up and running. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to entertain those now.
Any questions for him from the council?
I guess if CSX insists on the expense, which looks like it's about between $10,000 and $15,000, is that a deal breaker for you that you cannot do it?
It could very well be a deal breaker, but here's the dilemma that we've had with CSX. About every 4 to 6 months, we get a different direction in their response. We've had some of their administrators say, we're not going to do all that. We'll bring a crew down there and then 20 minutes have the thing pushed over there. You can pick it up and take it. And 6 months after that, as we are making arrangements to do exactly that, then it's either a different part of their staff or someone else in their administration says, well, no, I'm not so sure we ought to do it that way, and we probably need to do it this way. And so we're a little bit of a dilemma, and I can't speak for CSX as far as their internal workings, but it appears to be similar to a ball and a pinball machine, all over the place. So it could be a tiebreaker if we get, we still have the expense of relocating it.
Right.
So it's one thing if the whole thing was $10,000, but you can imagine what we're talking about, several trucks, the cranes that's involved, and the labor and stuff and materials in that particular part of the project. It could be a tiebreaker.
Deal breaker.
I'm sorry, deal breaker, yes.
Okay, thanks.
And just for the record, we have no better luck working with CXX than you do. So, hate to say
Maybe
that.
send them this tape.
Yeah, we're on TV tonight. So CSX, we'd love to work with you and have a great working relationship. So if the president of CSX is up late one night watching this,
Wow, that would be fantastic.
Please reach out to us. So
our hope tonight was twofold. One is to bring you up to date on the project, and it's still, in our opinion, alive and well, and we continue to move forward in that vein. And the second thing was to see if you'd be willing to, at the very least, engage with us in at least a letter writing campaign or something to say, sure could use your help on this. And whether that should be to the president of CSX or chairperson of the board or whoever, I'm not sure, but again, it probably carries a lot more weight coming from you folks than it does from us. So thank you very much for the opportunity to be here.
Mr. Frank,
Yes,
when's
ma'am.
the last time you had contact with CSX?
It's been about halfway through 2017, towards the fall of 2017.
Okay, thank you. I'll give you my information. If you can share that last point of contact with me, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, sure will.
okay, any other questions for Frank?
Go ahead.
I just
Sure.
I probably got it here too late.
This is Dennis Hoover, our town attorney, by the way.
What's the relationship between your group and the county? Are you part of the county?
The Howard County Antique Farm Machinery Club is a nonprofit organization. We've been in existence since 1995. In 2005, we entered into a long-term lease arrangement with Howard County government. Howard County Rec and Parks is our landlord. And the property is approximately 400 acres, and we are responsible for the maintenance, care, upkeep, environmental issues, and all of the above in conjunction with our landlord, Howard County Recreation and Parks. So, I mean, we're not them, but we're just as good as being them.
Mayor Shaw, just as a point of historical reference too, in the past, we've had a very good relationship with CSX at certain times. Previous administration and stuff too, where we could get things done. So
I think
that would work to reach out again.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And I think that's been our experience, that at various times a lot of things was much easier to be done.
When they had the new crossing.
Yeah, the gentleman was awesome, and he's no longer there.
Understood.
That's what we ran into a lot.
Yeah, we had one very good. You're right, Frank. It was great working with that guy. He's very responsive. He got stuff done, and then he left, and it's been a setback since then. So
it's been our experience.
We can certainly try, and we've had a little bit of luck getting the track stuff for the rail for the street, but it's a lot of work just to get him to approve taking a track out of the street that we need to repair. So it's been a bit of a challenge since then, but we'll certainly take it under advisement and see what we can do to rekindle the connection, because we'd love to have a good one.
Thank you again for this opportunity.
Yep. Thank you so much for coming and giving us an update on that. It's very much appreciated, because we were kind of wondering where it was from your perspective. Yes. So we appreciate you guys coming and updating us on where you are.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
And then I think Righty did you want to talk on this topic? So by all means, come on up. This is one of our local business owners, and her husband Stuart owns the Baldwin Station there, just so everybody knows where you're coming from. So.
Good evening. My name is Righty Deary. My husband Stuart and I are here tonight to defend keeping Sykesville's beloved blue caboose in Sykesville. We are also here to share our story with Mr. Frank, since we do not believe that has been done before now. So that's one of the things you probably don't know. So we're here to share it with you. It's our fervent hope that once he hears what we have to say, we can resolve this issue quickly and without ill will, especially since you already have a locomotive and a flat car. We want the caboose. So we are longtime residents. We've lived in Sykesville for 28 years. Longtime Main Street business owners, Baldwin Station and Restaurant and the Vine on Main, and longtime as well as current leaseholders closely connected with the Blue Caboose. Baldwin's is celebrating our 20th year in Sykesville after being named Baltimore's best new restaurant in August of 1998. We took over the current lease on July 24th, 1997. This lease continues in its current form through April 1st, 2031. We asked upon starting our restaurant business if we could use the blue caboose if and when we chose to do so. This was a verbal agreement with the 1997 mayor, who was Jonathan Herman. Most of you do know the name of Jonathan Herman. And we did verify, he cannot be here this evening, but he verified that he would attest to that that was the verbal agreement, and he would be happy to meet with the town council if needed. We were also able to understand that if and when the town wanted to do something with the caboose, we would be given the first right of refusal before it exchanged hands or was removed from its present location. We're here tonight to outline the events acted on by the current mayor and town council, to present why we oppose these actions now, and also to present our vision from keeping this historical landmark in our train town of Sykesville. And I would like to clarify, Sykesville is certainly not dormant as far as trains. Our train rumbles by all the time during the day, and as an owner of a brand new puppy, I can verify it also rolls by all night. So I hear it all the time. And I also find comfort in the train. I enjoy hearing that train going by. In January of 2014, 4 years ago, the mayor and the town council donated the blue caboose to the Howard County Farm and Antique Machinery Club. And from their website and what you've shared with us tonight, a club started in 1995 looking to preserve the farming heritage of Howard County. Each year, they do have a calendar of events. It's a limited calendar of events that includes a grain harvest, Farm City, and they are located across from the Howard County Fairgrounds, which celebrates the end of the harvest season. Besides these events, they are open to tour only by appointment according to your website. I don't know if that's changed. And they also host a blacksmithing workshop, a consignment sale, cycle cross, and trick-or-treating, and a tree lighting during the holidays. Although their conceptual plan does include a 3-piece train, their train connection is solely because Ellicott City has Howard County's oldest train station in Howard County. Sykesville, on the other hand, is defined as a train town. While the Farm and Antique Machinery Club has a tractor and a plow blade on their logo, the town of Sykesville, as clearly featured behind us, features our beautiful 1883 B&O train station. We named our restaurant Baldwin Station as a shout out to the famous B&O architect E. Francis Baldwin, who has a number of trains. It is located on the old main line, which is indeed the first line in the country. We have a beautiful plaque that just went up last fall that outlines about the train station and the history of the old main line. We have a restored Pullman car in town full of model trains, a Little Sykes Railroad, a rebuilt switch tower, which was rebuilt into Sykesville because we're such a train town. It was not original to the town, but because the town is so fervent about our train history, that was part of the town vision, and it was rebuilt here. We use it as a post office and a visitor center. So again, it shows how important that is to us. We have a red caboose to meet Santa in, and our Gatehouse Museum features many, many historic artifacts and literature about the train history and trains. In our restaurant, Baldwin Station, we also feature original artifacts, including the Lookout for the Locomotive sign that I think most of you have seen. In fact, at one point, our town website used to open with the sound of a train whistle. So you would click on the town of Sykesville, and that's the first thing you heard, even before it came up.
It was freaking annoying.
So glad that's gone. However,
we were glad to get rid of that.
And we're reminded hourly as the train does come through town that Sykesville was founded as a summer...
Did you call for that?
Yeah, we do.
So she's a real one has the connection to CSI.
Well, not to expedite. I mean, in the spirit of time, I know, but so we all know.
I want to hear everything she has to say.
Oh goodness, sorry.
I only found out about this meeting yesterday, I didn't write as much as I would have liked, so you are going to be saved some of it. However,
I didn't mean about the history of it. I guess more to get to the factual part of it. I mean, we all agree. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to dispute anything you've said, and probably the rest of it that you have to say. I'm just trying to get to, I guess, to the meat and potatoes of it.
Well, then I will skip through the fact that we are a train town, but our Blue Caboose is located right by the train tracks in our downtown historic Sykesville district, right next to the original train station of the town of Sykesville. For all residents and visitors to see, no appointment is necessary. We take issue that the Blue Caboose was donated without our, or as it seems, the entire community's knowledge. No one ever came to us to let us know that the donation was being considered or to give us that first right of refusal as agreed upon when we accepted our lease. The courtesy of even a heads up would have been very much appreciated. While we understand that mayors, town council members, and town managers do change, history does not or should not, and our lease does not, at least not until 2031. We had absolutely no idea about the gift until we started moving forward on our long-term dream of doing more with the Blue Caboose than having it as a well-known, well-loved landmark, which, by the way, as I was doing some research, if you go to shothotspot.com, whose website states will help you find great places to take photos anywhere in the world, of Sykesville's top 11 spots, our Blue Caboose is number 4. It is well known as the place to take a picture. Countless families have had portraits taken there. Every engagement party and bride and groom married at Baldwin's has photos of the Blue Caboose in their photo albums. It is one of the most popular spots for Liberty and Century senior portraits. We just ran our calendar project, which Annie mentioned, proceeds of which are slated for the Townhouse Flagpole Fund. We received many submissions of our Blue Caboose. And this was a calendar made up of the iconic images of the town of Sykesville. I have many examples of the thoughts and photos of Sykesville, current and past residents and visitors, and all agree that the Blue Caboose is an important part of the town. Only when we said that we were going to start work on the Blue Caboose were we informed of the possible. We were told it was a possible donation the year before. We thought it was a possible donation because it was still sitting there a year later. And actually, it was still sitting there 4 years later. We immediately created a petition as soon as we caught wind of the donation, because since the Blue Caboose was still in place by the station, we figured we had a chance as long as the public could be heard. I would like to read the petition now. Would you like to hear the petition now?
If we have to.
Okay. Keep the Blue Caboose in Sykesville, Maryland for restoration. Beautiful photograph of the Blue Caboose. Sykesville is a railroad town with a lot of history. Part of that history can be found in the old Blue Caboose just down the tracks from Baldwin Station. For more than 25 years, the caboose has sat as a monument to the early developmental days of our town's economy. Now, as Main Street is bustling with local residents visiting the shops, restaurants, and boutiques, the old Blue Caboose serves its purpose as a favorite stop of visitors and train enthusiasts, a backdrop for local photographers, and an iconic reminder of the history of our town. It is not only an important part of our history, it's an important part of our community, and we are at risk of losing it. When this petition was sent out, we still did not know that it was a done deal. Help us keep the old Blue Caboose in Sykesville. There's another town that has seen its value and is looking to take it. We want to keep it here and restore it ourselves as a community project. We have the resources and the volunteers. We just need your help in convincing the town of Sykesville not to give a part of our history away to another town in another county. Please sign our petition and help us keep this important landmark in our community. We had planned to keep a community blog of our restoration so you can watch our progress, and when it's complete, continue to enjoy Sykesville's Blue Caboose. I will spare you from reading all of the signatures. We had over 1,000 signatures. Many of them had lovely comments to make about the Blue Caboose. Some, please don't take away a piece of history from our little town. It's so full of character and vitality. There's so many more. Sykesville is known for trains. Please save the caboose. If you need volunteers, I would be happy to help. Too many towns abandon pieces of their past only to regret it later when it is too late to get it back. So that was a 3-year-old comment. Most of the signatures were 3 years old. We, let's see. It was also shared on Sykesville Online with many of the similar responses. There were 657 shares, over 1,000 signatures. It was hand-delivered to the townhouse to Dawn, who was the then acting town manager. It was shared on Sykesville Online. The most important part of my story tonight is that no one knew that the donation had taken place, although during the Sykesville Online, Julia, you did respond many times that you did confirm that that was the case, and you cited the minutes of when that donation was made. I tried to click on the minutes. The page has been removed. You cannot pull them up. You cannot see the donation. You cannot read them.
Chris has it.
I just pulled it up, actually.
I didn't pull up on 3 different computers we were trying today. So if you have a special secret link, maybe.
There's no secret link.
It's not our book. You don't have a town council site or something?
No, I just went to the town
Because it
website.
said the page has been removed when you try it generally.
We'll make sure it's up.
We'll double check it, but it's definitely not secret. These are all public documents.
Well, that's what I thought, but I couldn't read the minutes to be able to look at them before this evening, and I tried on my home computer, our restaurant computer, and our Vinyl Main computer. So perhaps there's a little glitch. However, even with the 2 steps that we took with the petition and the Sykesville Online, even now, 4 years later, the general public still does not know that the donation was made. And I think that is a problem for the communication between the mayor, the town council, and the general public. And as an example of that, I'd like to read, investigators say Sykesville caboose fire was intentionally set. The historic blue caboose owned by the town of Sykesville is shown. A fire that authorities are investigating as arson damaged the caboose on Sunday. This was written by the Carroll County Times, an investigative reporter, and it's dated August 28th, 2017. How can in August 28th, 2017, an investigative reporter from our local newspaper thinks the town of Sykesville owns the caboose if it's been donated? How do they not know that? And the article says, the blue caboose, a Sykesville historic landmark. I won't read this whole article, but I will say the caboose, located near Baldwin Station, is owned by the town of Sykesville. It is tied to the town's history of commerce as a stop on the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. Due to the historic nature of the structure, the cost of the damage is still being calculated, according to Chief Spalding. So that article was printed. No one said that it wasn't owned by the town. As a resident reading a newspaper article, how would I know that, no, that's not the case. We don't own it any longer. We tried repeatedly to get more information about the gift and what we could do about it because we did want to address it and try to get it back, especially after 4 years, it's still there. And we are actively trying to do something with it. Leo, I know I spoke to you when you were at the Vine on Main last summer. We finally, got frustrated by a lack of response. We finally made a formal request to bring up the subject at a town council meeting, which we did November 2017. Even though we asked to be kept in the loop regarding the subject, we were not aware that this subject was being addressed this evening until I found out. Someone told me about it. You might ask, why did we wait so long to do something about the blue caboose? Because when you're starting a new business with 2 toddlers and it's a restaurant and the town is sketchy at best, the town has not always looked the way it looks now. Right now, we're experiencing a huge revitalization of Main Street. Right now, I quit my full-time job last summer because I said to Stuart, this is the summer of Main Street. We've been successful in that new business venture, and we feel that finally it's the time to be able to do what we've always wanted to do with the Blue Caboose. And I think that we do also have, because we're the coolest small town in America, we've got some hype, we've got volunteers, we've got activities. Most importantly, though, we have a new nonprofit, the Downtown Sykesville Connection, and we feel that that nonprofit could actually, our town of Sykesville, donate the caboose to the new nonprofit, and we would be happy to do a long-term lease with them, the same way we've done a long-term lease with the town, with the railroad station, and we think that that could lead to economic development of the town. And that's where I stopped writing. That's where I had time to stop. I think I've pretty much covered everything I wanted to say, but if you have any questions.
I have a quick question, Roddy. I think in conversations offline with you and or Stuart, I recall comments being made about having resources at hand that would help to restore the caboose. Can you speak to that for the purpose of?
Sure. I was doing my research, so I already have someone who lives locally. In fact, his grandfather was very well known within the town, and he does furniture restoration. Has a plan in place. He'd love to help us with the restoration of the inside of the caboose. I also spoke with a gentleman whose job it is. He was visiting Sykesville because he's an adamant train enthusiast. He also works with trains. He's the curator of display rail. He was telling me that if we contacted the B&O Rail Museum, and we've worked with them on a number of projects, the museum, because we are a B&O station, we've hosted B&O dinners, we've had their personnel there, we've encouraged their cookbook, that was the B&O cookbook, feels that we could get display rail donated to us. He was suggesting we could possibly get a grant through the Western Maryland Scenic Program, and in fact they would be interested in laying down the tracks. Currently it is on CSX rails. It's called a spur where it ends. It's not usable, but this gentleman led me to believe, and I would like to follow up with him. I have not, because it's not our caboose, that he would be helpful in helping us get that information, secure the display rail that we needed, and then I stopped doing the refurbish of the inside again because it's not our place to do that at this time. However, with the Downtown Sykesville Connection and with modern technology, I believe we could even start a Kickstarter campaign. I believe we could put it out there on social media. I think it would be a huge town community event. Volunteer, come help us on the caboose. And I feel that through that, there could be resources. I also believe that there are Maryland Historic Trust grants that would be appropriate to our grant process, and I'd love to be able to find out more about that and then proceed forward with those grants. So we have 2 places for grants. I know where we can get the volunteers, and I think we would have town support.
Well, let me comment on a couple of things, because you've touched on a lot of things here, and I really do want to thank you for coming out with that thoughtful presentation, because you did cover a lot of good stuff in there, so thank you.
Not bad for less than 24 hours, right?
Yeah, so on that, this falls under, in my opinion, the old story of no good deed goes unpunished, because just to give you the history from the town's perspective, when the council made the decision, the thing was falling into disrepair further and further and further, and rusting and deteriorating terribly. And our position at the time was somebody came up and was willing to take it and restore it, and we were thought, well, geez, at least it won't go any further down. They were going to recognize Sykesville for it, you know, in the restoration. And that's really where the genesis came from. And it was done in a public, open meeting over a series of a couple of meetings.
Right.
It wasn't some clandestine, give the thing away, just to be clear on that. And the reason you didn't see it in the newspaper, quite frankly, they are not here tonight, and they never come unless there's a salacious topic on the agenda. And giving the old rusty blue caboose away doesn't warrant the staff to come out. I'm serious. They're not here tonight. It's a prime example. They never come here unless it's something that they think is a newsworthy story. So I'm not a bit surprised that they don't know when they write their articles that who owns it. They don't do the research. They never called the town and said, hey, is this your caboose? They just write these stories. So,
may I ask you why we didn't know as leaseholders? Why no one came to us? Why no one said anything to us? Why we were completely in the dark?
well, and I'm getting to that because you did bring that up. It's not in your lease. It's not written anywhere. So
Right.
we
It was
don't-
a
how would
verbal
we know
commitment.
that an old mayor told you something verbally in 1997? I mean, in our defense, that's not something we would know.
I'm not attacking you for
Well,
that.
I mean, I'm
but
just
what
saying,
I'm
in defense,
saying-
if we would have looked at a lease and saw, hey, you guys got right of first refusal, you'd have been the first one we'd have called.
I'd like to speak to that. I think it would make it makes common sense that we would have spoken to the Dearys about this decision that we were talking about doing.
Well, I mean,
Right, and it's not-
perhaps, but at the time,
It's just it's my opinion, and I
Yeah.
thought it was worthy to say.
right?
We can
I mean,
move
yeah,
on.
that's certainly
And I guess I'm not looking for that legal aspect.
right.
I am looking for the common sense.
Sure.
And common
Right.
sense, it's been part of us forever. It's part of our business. We have all the photographs. I have pages and pages.
Absolutely, and I'm not disagreeing with you a bit. I don't have a favor in this. Just to be clear, if that thing stays here and gets fixed up, woohoo. You know what I mean? If that thing, so I don't have a one way. What I am trying to do though is let you know that the council didn't have this information when we made the decision.
I do find that curious because when we came
Right,
here in
me too.
November of 2017 and we mentioned
And wait a minute, because on that, I did want to address that, because you said that. We took immediate action when you came here, and we reached back out to them right away, had the town attorney reach out to them, find out what's going on. So we jumped on it. As soon as you came in November, we're like, yeah, that's a good question. What's going on? Can we revoke the...
Town manager.
Yeah.
You said town attorney.
Well, I mean, we had the town attorney, or town manager and the town attorney look into it, see what the legal ramifications were of the donation. So we jumped right on it to find out if there's an opportunity to not give it to them.
Right, and then they weren't notified about it being part of our public agenda this evening.
Well, and however, what I was going to say, I wasn't going to say that you
Right.
didn't take action. What I was going to say, when we appeared in November of 2017 and we mentioned our petition, no one knew about it. However, people did know about it, but it wasn't.
Right.
It was not spoken. And
Yeah.
I have printouts of town council members weighing in on that petition, and it didn't come out. And it didn't come out in that November meeting either. And then, like Stacy said, when you reached out to them, it seems to me common courtesy that we would have seen a copy of that letter or a copy of the response so that we would be in the loop. We clearly were requesting to be in the loop,
Right.
and we're clearly not.
Well, and then we had an interim manager who we kind of maybe assumed was or was not, sending out or what have you, or maybe he didn't think it was appropriate, because our plan was really to have them come out and tell us where they were with the process. We weren't making any additional decisions. We really wanted to get an update from these gentlemen of where they were in this whole process, so that we could continue this discussion, not end it. It wasn't they were going to come out and tell us and that was going to be the end of it. This was to get information for us, again, to update us where we were, where they were with the process, what's going on. So we wanted to afford them the right to come here tonight and at least tell us, where are you with this whole move thing, and find out. And clearly we found out some information tonight that may keep this thing here. I mean, because it's, and I'm worried, I guess the only thing that worries me from the perspective of keeping it is the resources, because I've done some research on this thing too, and just to be clear, that's not a B&O caboose. I found out that. It's a Conrail caboose.
It's a cabin car.
Yeah, so it's like, right. So it's like
Cabooses are not called cabooses, they're cabin cars.
So, and then the estimates that I've been told to refurbish it are somewhere in the $20,000 to $25,000 range once you get it somewhere. And then I've also had, I know your interest was to move it maybe closer to the restaurant, and I'm getting some clarity that that's never going to be allowed by CSX. So we're definitely going to have to look at some display rails and off of the track somewhere. So
Right,
that's
it
not
has to be
something,
on
I'm not saying that's
display
something we wouldn't definitely give serious consideration to, but the initial concept that sounded really exciting doesn't seem like it's going to be feasible.
Well, except that I said, I've looked into trying to get those display rails,
Yeah.
and there are grants available to
Right,
them,
right.
and
No,
even people to
I'm
lend
all
them.
for it. I mean, believe me, I have no thing in this, but I did want to defend the way it happened for us. So I think you've done a great job as bringing your information and all this different perspective to the council now that we have all this. It's a lot more information that we have. However,
Well,
now that we've given it to somebody, we got to figure out what that is, and we're working through that process.
Well, and that's where my next question comes in. It was given as a donation, and when you go onto your website, they have a page up that says, we hope to get it in the spring, and that was spring of 2015. So at what point, at what time does a donation no longer, when do we have to still meet the requirements of that donation? 4 years have passed. It doesn't look like there's a quick end to the story. When can we rescind the donation and not renege on the deal? So like, I want to make sure that we're rescinding because so much time has lapsed, and also the circumstances of the town of Sykesville has changed. 4 years ago, our main street was not as bustling as it is now. Now, 4 years later, it is. 4 years ago, we did not have a nonprofit of the Downtown Sykesville Connection, but now we do. So we have resources in effect now that could help us immediately. So after 4 years, do we still have to say, oh yeah, we donated it, so we can't touch it?
And I think that's part of what we were looking at as well, is finding out what kind of requirements are there for timelines, where they were in the process. Is there a period where we decide, hey, we want to send them a letter and say, this is X amount of time you need to do, or we can rescind it? And we were exploring all these things. That's what really this whole process was. It wasn't to make a quick decision. It was to get information tonight. We've heard from you guys. We've been looking at CSX, some things to find out some of the, the little nuances of what it would take to keep that thing, move it down the track or what have you. So,
well, we just wanted to make it very, very clear that we're interested. We're interested in it for the town. We think it's
and we
a
very
great
much
community.
appreciate that.
We can't, if we give it away, we cannot get it back.
Yeah. And I have a picture of it in my office.
Well, and there's actually a nice, lovely photo on it on a Town
Yeah.
of Sykesville website, and it says Town Event, Photographer, the Blue Caboose.
Right. Hopefully he shouldn't put that out because apparently that's illegal too. So we should make that clear that that's against CSX's rules to take pictures on the blue caboose.
My only comment publicly, two more comments that I haven't made yet. One, I have a wedding picture in front of that same car. And two, I voted no when they wanted to donate this. So I just wanted to remind everybody at the table because I haven't done that in the last 4 weeks.
Well, in that case, I was on the council when that happened.
Okay.
Full disclosure.
And I'd like to make a comment. This is the first I've heard about the petition. Apparently it went to Dawn, and
You weren't here in November?
I don't think I was at that meeting.
Oh, you weren't, because it's in the minutes.
Yeah, I wasn't at that meeting.
Well, Dawn wasn't here in November, so.
No, but
I know,
the petition
but the
was 3
petition
years
was
ago,
brought
but was not disseminated to
Yeah,
us.
we didn't see that, right? When did that, none of us saw that though.
None of us saw the petition.
When did that come out? When did that come out?
In August of 2015.
And that was right
actually,
when-
Julia, you saw it because I have your comments on the Sykesville online version of
I
it.
have to make out mention.
I have it all printed.
That was right
Well,
when
stop
we
trying to act like we were never on council.
Because I know that prior to part of the discussion about donating it, we had someone look into the cost of renovating it. And because we wanted to have it here in town and keep it here in town, but we were advised that the cost of renovating it was I believe it was close to $100,000. And
Yeah, to get it off, to pull it off, to do like a whole professional move it off.
And we didn't have that financial capability, and then when Carroll County came to us and said that they want to do that, we were never aware of your agreement or that you're wanting it, because obviously, if we knew that, we would have given you the first right of refusal, absolutely. But we were not provided with that information.
Right, we thought we were doing a good deal. We thought we were helping the old blue
I
goodness.
understand that. I guess it's because we've been here so long and we've never changed. All of your faces have changed, the mayors have changed, the town council, the managers, but we have not changed. And so somehow, I guess we're part of history.
There you go.
Somehow I feel
Like it or
like
not, you're in the books.
as a business owner right by the item in question, it just seems like you should have gone, hey. And I know we did mention it to you at the bicycle, what's it called? Inauguration of the bicycle, when you all, we invited everyone in, and you and he spoke to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of where we were excited about the initial thing, and then finding out what the requirements were, because we were just like you were, finding out what the requirements of the donation were, being all the time is going by. And that's really where we are in this process right now, is finding out, okay, where are we, where are they, where's the town, and then reevaluating this whole thing and seeing what comes out of that. So, and your input on that's been... Yes. So thank you so much. Yeah. Any other questions on this one? So, well, thank you so much for both of you. Thank you for coming from the Train Museum or the Heritage Museum, and then thank you guys for coming out with all that thoughtful comments on that.
And Righty, I did check with another web browser. I was able to get to both the. It looked like it was initially discussed at the January 27, 2014 meeting. They held it to the following meeting, to the February 24th meeting, and I was able to pull up both of those minutes. So we can get together afterwards and we can go through and just make sure that...
I was clicking on the links and it said page not found.
Okay.
We'll make sure it's working for you.
So afterwards, at the recess, if you're still here, we can go through that.
And then we're looking forward to the calendar money for the flags. Aren't they beautiful out front? Did you see the flags?
We got it for you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that. It was a lovely calendar in the project, too.
Well,
So.
and the blue caboose is in
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Nice. The money's going to be withheld.
You're good, I gotta tell you. All right. All right, so our next exciting item is the debt payoff from Evelyn. She's back up.
So can I just say both to these gentlemen that we will definitely be in touch with both parties.
Yes, absolutely.
We've been in a
Aretha's
serious...
never going to let this get away from us.
What's her back out provision?
But I will say, Righty, Aretha now knows that this is to keep you in the loop on this topic.
Yeah.
So
we're hoping to be more consistent on things, and now that Aretha's in place, so thank you.
That's right. Baptism by fire.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's hot.
All right, so you're up, Evelyn.
Okay, the mayor asked me to look into what we can do with some of our funds that are available for spending, and I did looked into that. I looked into the possibility of paying off the debt at 714 Sandusky Road, and also the possibility of paying off a bond that was issued in 2008. I feel like we would be better served and get more bang for our buck, if you will, if we were to pay off the loan for 714 Sandusky. If we were to pay it off, we will save approximately $100,000 worth of interest for the remaining 9 years of the loan. So I suggest that we pay off 714 Sandusky. It'll require around $500,000 worth of cash to pay that off. And again, it'll save around $100,000 worth of interest. And that's all I have to say about
that topic.
That topic.
Right. Is there any questions for Evelyn on this? Because I really thought it was a good idea to get this, since we were hoping to maybe close on it in December. That looks like this may be a protracted process.
Evelyn, what's the interest rate on the 714? 14 Sandusky?
It's 4%.
And what's the interest rate on the CD?
One and a
I
half.
believe it's on the CD,
On the bond.
On the Go bond.
3.64 for the Go bond.
It's actually, the loan of the property over here is,
Yep.
is a one rate and then it bumps after 5 years.
So it's a balloon?
No, it bumps. There's one reset. It's like a 10-year loan, but it resets one time.
Higher.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll save at least $100,000.
Yeah, so if she used the base rate and she's off by half a point, point is we're saving more, not less.
Okay.
Yes.
Julie?
The interest on the other bond is 3.46. So,
A very selfish taxpayer question. That's over half of the town reserve. How is that going to affect tax rates and everything? Is it not a very risky move as a...
no, it's not. We have, at the current time, we have 1.7 million of cash available for spending. This is 500, and so it'll bring it down to 1.2 million.
Okay, so the reserve you mentioned at 900 and some, it went better since then, or it's a different pot of money?
I didn't mention a reserve.
No, not tonight, but I don't know, the meeting. I like that number, it was beautiful, so I remember.
Well, the financial statements that were audited as of June 30th left us with cash available for spending of 1.7 million.
Okay.
The $900,000 may have been something else.
Okay.
And yes, it has grown since the last time we talked about it.
So that would not change tremendously the town budget or
No.
the tax profile of the town for the upcoming years?
No, I do not see this payoff in any way causing a raise in your taxes in any way.
Actually, if anything, it should improve because then we're
Not paying
reducing
debt.
our debt, the interest payments we have to make.
So that was the plan too, is then not to have those giant capital with, so we wanted to spend down and save actually money. So we'll save money through the process, basically.
Because the character of believe it or not, I mean, whether you have cash or land, it's still
Yes, well that was the second
same kind of
point.
an asset.
Yes.
So it's not liquid, but it can be turned into liquid by just going to get another mortgage. So if you need the money, you can.
And that was the next point I was going to make. You know, we're still in discussions about selling that property that have not been finalized. So this cash may come back into the reserve funds if we, depending on what the decisions are. Yeah, so could be.
Once you can sell it, where you can.
Well, or take a
borrow
mortgage.
it.
Yeah, you could always borrow against it again if you needed to get cash.
It's still
but-
an asset.
Yeah, it's still an asset. So we're keeping the hard asset, and that gives us flexibility either to continue on with selling it or to do what is necessary. So I think Evelyn's looking for a motion on this.
I'll make a motion to approve the debt payoff proposal for 714 Sandusky Road.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, great. Thank you for
Thanks,
that
Evelyn.
recommendation. And then she's still up because we were still looking at these numbers. So more good news.
In addition to doing that, we also want to take $800,000 worth of funds that are currently sitting in a money market business checking account, not earning any interest, and invest them into tiered CDs at the levels of 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months. I do not foresee us needing this cash in the next year, and not beyond that either, but at this time, I don't see us needing it. So I recommend that we take $800,000 worth of funds and invest them in the CDs in order to gain, we will earn between $9,000 and $10,000 more annually in interest by doing that.
Would you split it a third, a third, a third?
That's what we did?
No, it's a breakdown.
Oh, well, we did it this way for a different reason. We had a discussion about this.
Staff report.
Yeah.
She's saying.
Oh,
You see
yeah.
it here, it's right here.
It's 106.
I'm sorry.
I can't see it.
It's 106-month CD, 109-month, and the rest in the 12-month.
Right.
And it's various interest rates for.
Right.
Yep, because you get a
Because
little
the
bit
longer you
more,
hold
right,
it.
the longer you go, of course.
More interest earned.
And the plan was with that is to keep it kind of liquid,
Yep.
to keep it somewhat liquid. We could get to it pretty quick if needed to.
For the public, can you give us those numbers?
Yeah, so the numbers, we're putting $100,000 in a 1.50 CD for 6 months. We're putting $100,000 in a 9-month CD at 1.55. And then we're putting $600,000 in a 12-month CD at 1.75. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Cool, so do you think the interest rates are going to be going up throughout the year?
That's the who?
So why would you lock in, you're locking in now, right?
Well, that's why we laddered them, so we can take
But you're
this
not
other
buying them
ones.
throughout the year, though. You're buying them all at one time at different rates. We all know that the Fed's going to be raising interest rates throughout the year.
Do we?
But loan interest rates, they're not going to be raising.
So you don't think they're going to change? The CD rates aren't going to go up at all?
No, loan interest rates are going to go up, but not, that's not going to correspond into.
So they're not going to pass that on?
They might. I think a 12-month line is pretty short, though. I think we're feeling pretty good about putting it in there now, and then if the opportunities come out, when the 6 months, 9 months come up, maybe we could switch those two into a higher one too, and then when the 12-month comes up, keep switching it. That was our plan, was to kind of ladder them to take advantage of opportunities as rates maybe fluctuate.
And the penalty's not that bad if you have to take it out. So right, if you have to break it. Or so
Yeah.
if you're dire straits, you guys need to.
But we weren't being greedy. We were trying to be conservative, and then take a little bit of, like doing nothing. We're not gonna get the 9 to 10.
I don't see how we could possibly get into dire straits that we're going to need to take it out.
Yeah.
So-
So I thought we were trying to be somewhat conservative, but also get a little bit better return on the money rather than just have it sitting there.
Go for it.
So,
I'll make a motion to approve the investment of $800,000 in tiered certificates of deposit using cash in the savings for checking funds account.
Second.
all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Evelyn.
Evelyn, yeah. She's not done yet. She's coming around.
CIP.
CIP.
There we go.
Not so fast.
Everyone, do you need a chair?
Yeah. She just wanted to come back. Like, all right, I'm back for.
Our favorite subject. Okay, I've received everyone's votes on the capital improvement spending for FY19, and I've tallied them up and shared them with you, and
Got the one, the sheet.
I made a summary sheet outside of the detailed 5-year plan. I made a summary sheet of just the FY19 items, ranking them in the order that they were selected, and on the right-hand side, there is a cumulative total that adds in each item as you go along.
This is very helpful. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, that was awesome. Great job
Very
with that,
helpful.
by the way.
Very easy to look at.
You are very welcome. It is my utmost pleasure. So anyway, I guess we need to come to a decision as to what items, how far we're going to go on the list. In prior years, our capital improvements program has been around $350,000 per year. And also at this time, I do not have all the final numbers in for the real estate taxes, so, but in the past, we spent around $350. I'm anticipating that we will be around the same level this year, or for FY19.
So that's one thing I haven't done yet is boiled it all down to what's like gonna get funded and what's not.
So basically, if you look at this sheet, she did.
Just up at the
If we
bottom, we're
have
not gonna-
350 to spend,
Alright,
we're
so we're
gonna be
gonna
cut
cut
off
off
about
about
here. We'll be
here,
able to
right.
do this.
This is from Mr. Grassley.
Perfect.
There it is, the yellow.
Color coded.
Up to the
It's
yellow.
awesome.
Now, the only thing I wanted to point out was I didn't actually select for the townhouse second floor interior storms because the priority rating was low. So I was trying to look at more of the high and medium priority items. So right now that's up in what would be funded. And I didn't know if you wanted to, because you seem to have more knowledge about the townhouse landscaping.
Yes, what about, what comments would you like? What specifically, you mean my comments that I put?
Well, I think we discussed this before, and this was supposed to have already been done. And now it's out in what, 2020?
Yeah, I strongly disagree with that being moved out of this fiscal year, to be honest with you. The maintenance that's happening right now is minimal. It's being done by our Public Works Department. It's been great because it's more than it's ever been, but it's not adequate. We don't have the staffing to do what's necessary, and there's significant changes that we proposed and that staff has proposed and that we all agree with needing to be done on the grounds immediately around the townhouse that have been pushed out to 2020. And I strongly believe they should be done this fiscal year.
I agree. I mean, Evelyn, everything that I chose is not on the list.
It's in 2020.
Correct.
So, but what was it on the? Was it on the list that Evelyn?
How are we going to boil out all these things? Because now that we got this,
But
it
it's
seems like there's a little bit of, we're going to have a council melee here in a few minutes.
I'm not sure what happened to get the landscaping for $5,000 into 2020. You know, just this week, we did get a $26,000 insurance refund for our health insurance, so perhaps we can make it happen in this year if we were to do a budget amendment.
And the quote was for more than $5,000 for all of the that had been trimmed down, pared down to something that equaled $5,000, and then it got pushed to 2020. So, like, I believe the original was closer to 18.
It was on our original CIP request.
Yeah, it was 18.
I think we can get a pretty good number on that because Mark, we did go downstairs, so it should be kind of pretty easy to get a real hard number on that. I mean, right? I mean, this should be a pretty accurate number maybe because, I mean, once you get down...
Maintenance.
Oh, maintenance, I'm sorry. I thought we were still talking about the windows. Okay. You're talking about the townhouse maintenance, right? Yeah, exactly, right.
We don't want to screw up the townhouse.
Well, I think definitely $5,000 can be found to do that somewhere. I don't even know if that should be under capital, really. Almost should fall into the budget under maintenance.
Well, that's true, but there was an initial project that would not have been considered maintenance. Like it was removal of some shrubs and some plantings, and all of our boxwoods around our memorial are fading, and they all need to, they're one by one, they're dying.
And the bees bushes. I mean,
there's a lot of stuff that needs to be addressed at a one time.
When we were doing
So, when's the discussion? We're going to have a meeting to, I mean, we have a budget calendar, I assume.
Yeah, and we kind of were expedited, so we're ahead of schedule, so we can talk about this. Yeah, that's what I was thinking to talk to. So go ahead, Aretha.
Yeah, so my question for Councilmember Link was, are the original things that were listed, the removal, the remediation of whatever, was that done and so we no longer need it, or is this 5,000 just encompassing something completely different than what was originally requested?
Correct. It's a paring down of what was originally requested. And to answer your first question, no, none of that had been done yet.
So it sounds like when we can get the budget calendar together, because I haven't seen a budget calendar as yet, that we can have some kind of budget workshop where you can actually dive into these things and
well, that's what I was thinking.
That's
a good idea right there. So I'm thinking maybe we can take this, now that we got it, this was kind of a, okay, we've got it, we've done it all. Now we're finding out some concerns and questions and things, and I think maybe we could go through this and vet this out a little bit deeper, right, and get into some where we can make some adjustments and switch and then figure out what the priorities are, because there's some things I have questions on. I know everybody got some questions, so maybe at the next meeting we can spend a little more time digging down into the...
Sounds good.
Yeah.
The only other thing I want to highlight is the townhouse second floor HVAC, because that unit has failed, and it's on here and it says it's needed before July 2018.
Right.
So I think that's something we need to address.
And that's another thing too. I mean, I told Mark that as well as far as maintenance. I know it is a capital thing, but if that thing breaks down, we're going to fix it. Like, it's not going to be like, okay.
And I think we actually already have that plan to get fixed in a couple of months, if I'm not mistaken. So I believe some funding has already been identified. We'll just have to do a budget amendment, but that's not a capital item.
Are we fixing it or are we replacing it?
Well, I think it's going to be replaced, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll find out though.
Yeah, so if it's replacement, I guess it'll be considered capital, but if it's, yeah, so I think our plan is not to replace it, because I think Mark said it's too much, it's not worth spending a ton of money into it, but these are things, we'll make a list of some things, we'll get some comments from everybody. I think maybe if we can all start getting there, put down what your thoughts are, and then we can work through it, and then figure out what the priorities are and rework it, Evelyn. So I think this has been really helpful to get us started, and I'm glad it's early, and then we'll have time to work through it.
I will be absent the next meeting, but I'll make sure that my comments accordingly.
Okay.
She's going to send me her priority list.
Right.
That way I can comment on it.
And that's assuming we're going to discuss it at the next meeting.
Right. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Maybe we can get to it then. If not,
she does. But I have special
okay.
comments.
And Mr. Mayor, since we were talking about the townhouse and stuff, I was just going to ask Aretha if we can pass along, I'll speak for the council, our thanks to the staff for working on this room.
It's really turned out great.
Yeah, we used to have a whole leak in the roof.
I remember the bird was chirping when I was here talking to you.
So excellent job on the staff. If you can pass along our thanks
I sure will.
For getting this room taken care of.
It was so beautiful when I came in. So I hope you all like the change. Decided to put the podium in the middle.
Yeah, works good.
To make it a little better flow. Thank you so much, sir. But yeah, it looks like
it's
a lot brighter.
So much newer.
Happier.
Yeah. So please pass along.
I will do that.
So one of the questions I wanted to maybe mention while you're here, Stacy, since you're not going to be here next time, is I wanted to do this stuff at the gatehouse, but I thought, can we take that out of their monies, because they got such a large reserve of cash, and I was thinking, why are we kicking that down the road when they have like a decent budget that we could do these things?
I totally believe that the things that are listed for improvements, and some of them really aren't considered improvements, they're really just dire need at the gatehouse, should not be kicked down the road. The question of where the funds for it should come, from where the funds should come is something for a later discussion.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, I just want to put it on your radar, and then maybe we could work on it, right? Because there's some of those things I thought were really important, but I thought they've got a decent reserve fund, and I thought, why not include that and then do it out of their funds? Yeah. Right, so something to think about. So I just want to bring that to your attention too. Okay, everybody good on that? Yep. Okay. All right, next item is a quick one, is the June Mayor and Town Council meeting. The current date that it was on is right during the MML conference. So my proposal was to move it to the fourth Tuesday instead of the second, or Monday, I'm sorry. Fourth Monday, because normally we have a second and fourth Monday, but in June we only have one meeting. Mm-hmm. And if we did it that second or the third, when then the staff's out of town, for the MML, and they got to try to get an agenda and do all that. So I just thought this would work a lot better. So I just wanted to get approval for that switch. I think it'll work better for everybody who's at the conference as well.
And then in turn, we would have our July meeting on the second Monday in July, which would be July 9th.
Okay. Second, because that's typically right? That is the current meeting, so we don't need to move that one.
I think her point is it's really close together, June 25th.
Yeah.
So it'd be 2 weeks apart.
Summer meetings are always
right. Well, we're only having one though, so we'll be on the 9th though, but it'll be closer.
I just wanted to bring that to your attention. It would be a 2-week delay. I mean, 2 week.
Which is typically what we're having during the regular months.
That's
but
fine.
At least that way it'll be like a 4-week delay between August maybe.
Yeah.
So you get a break.
Yeah.
All right, I'll make a motion to move the June meeting to June 25th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Let's mark your calendar for that. Thank you, Carrie, for working on that too. She was helping me out. All right, and then the Downtown Sykesville Connection has requested the location of the farmers market be at the current location of 714 Sandusky for the 2018 season. So I guess, Julie, if you wanted to come up, do you want to come up and talk about it, or I mean, I don't know if you need to.
Who wants to present?
Yeah, anybody want to present the logistics of it? I don't know if you need to. I mean, I think we're.
I don't know if I need to.
Yes. Does anybody have any questions for Julie about this? I mean, I think the only question and I had talked to Leo about, was to maybe be considering some plan B in case we do sell the property. At least we got some fallback, but.
We still have hope on that.
Yes, right.
And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get to the meeting for the vendors who were discussing all this.
Yes.
What were the issues with Plan B?
The Plan B, so each time
Could
that
you
we go
explain
back...
what the Plan B is, just for people that...
Each time we go back, and that's part of explaining what the Plan B is, we have to go back taking in account the remarks that were made about that location. And one of the remarks that was made consistently about that other location, which is the Baldwin, around a piece of the Baldwin Drive, a large area of the Baldwin lot, and the Centennial Park, which was the original location. It was really a burden on people that didn't know how to navigate the Oklahoma Road closure. The farmers market being on a Sunday, that impacted tremendously the churchgoers, and Oklahoma being one way on a stretch of it, it also impacted the people who didn't know that Norwood is not one way and they could have gone around, etc., etc. So keeping that in mind, we wanted to try to keep Oklahoma open and then use the entire Baldwin Drive with the vendor set up there and more of Baldwin to keep up the number of vendors we had. And the problem with that Plan B is that because of neighboring business that could not afford the impact on their business, we would have to tremendously reduce the size of the market, lose the moon bonds and things like that. And those are part of the incentives that made our market so popular. It will also create the burden of selecting who we cut off or not. And I have to say that for us who have been working with those people, it's a choice I just don't want to make, because each and every person who had selected in the past really improve the market. So we would not be comparing apple to apple. We would be looking at a smaller market that would allow Baldwin to conduct business on Sunday. I know we never had the same courtesy with the Becks when we kind of invaded the back of their lots with our patrons, but we still have to think about those things from time to time. So it would not be the same market at all. So it could be a Plan B. We would have to be very creative, right? Very nicely offered to be invading across the street in between the distillery and the pottery center and that area. It creates another issue, having people crossing the streets. That's also something we would have to think of. And Oklahoma, you know the burden about Oklahoma. This is how the town ended up paying for to put permanent sign on town money for the sign purchased by the church but installed by the town. About 20 parking spots saved every Sunday. So
The church has those signs up.
they were installed by you, right? You didn't install them?
Which ones? Just the handicap signs?
The permanent signs.
No, the green signs are off.
Oh,
They're up.
okay.
You did that.
Prior to me.
Okay. So Public Works did install, correct, Chief? Yes. Public Works did install the sign as a courtesy, which I hope to see happening on the Sandusky property to help us enforce no parking there. At times that are not only the farmers market, but this property is not labeled properly for that, and we have seen people parking very poorly, and when there's someone that needs to crawl into a car, remember, to out of a wheelchair, and there is not a way of ticketing the people that have purposely blocked him, it's really an issue that the town should address and think of. And since we have all that money, I feel very comfortable asking you to pay for the signs.
We just put it all away in a locked box. But anyway, okay.
So you just need to let us know what the plan is. It would be better to know the future of that property before promising too many things, because we're playing with the livelihood of people. The people make the choice of their market season, and the rest of the time they're in the field. So if we take that kind of commitment, we need to think it thoroughly.
Well, we're working hard on Plan Bs for space. I mean, I know we're constantly working on that hard. It's just time. So maybe it'll buy us enough time.
The only way for us to keep a market of the same scale and magnitude downtown, it would be to occupy the entire Baldwin lot. That means we would only leave the 3 handicap parking spots at the end
that are directly facing Baldwin Station. This is the only way to keep the same magnitude of a market.
But if we use half of the Baldwins and...
No, I told you, right, we measured that many times. We would still lose like 9 to 12 vendors, and we would not have the space for the moon barns. Because the moon barns, we really cannot put it in a place where cars are parking. Like,
at the end of the line between southern states, because they're closed at that time.
that would be also super hard to sell to some vendors, to be at the very end of that. Or the moon barn, same thing, like where there is heavy equipment and when it's not flat and everything. I'm not sure I want to put the moon barns on.
Well, I think for now, I think it's okay. I mean, I think that's what my discussions were with Leo. I think initially we're going to be okay to use that for a while, but...
What are the dates again, or the date ranges for the market?
It's May the 20th until October the 28th.
So at least initially, I think the plan was, and that's my point, was just to say is we can hopefully you can vet some of this stuff out, really think it over and see where there could be spots, just in case. I mean, how we would work it out, how many vendors we could have, where we could, I mean, I'm just trying to...
Well, I think she's made it
clear that it's going to be tough.
There is no plan B.
Right. I mean, the plan B is
that we would be able to
accommodate,
and we would need to know that
and our vendor and everyone. We would have to choose who we're going to.
We can only approve what we own.
Yeah.
So
well, that's
right. I mean, I think that we're all okay with approving the current location,
right.
But once we sell it,
right, then we're going
we can't have a legal right to that location when the new owner owns it. That would be up to the new owner.
Right. So depending on the disposition, I think we're all in agreement to.
The typical provisions that you would see regarding this kind of thing would be to terminate on a date certain in advance of closing, unless there's consent from
to give you plenty of notice
for the purchaser, and you would that way give yourself enough time to give notice to the vendors that the site's being relocated to Plan B, whatever it is.
You might want to check also with the prospective buyers if that's something okay with them. If you don't want to lose too much of a juicy contract for a property that was maybe overappraised with the U.S. discovery.
It depends when the closing is and how flexible the buyer is, etc.
I think we'd have sufficient time.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I think we'll have sufficient time. I think we were kind of in agreement that it won't be okay probably for the whole season maybe, but we just don't know. So we'll talk to the prospective buyer who should be, if it goes down that road, might be very willing to work with us. Let's hope.
They always do, don't they?
Yes.
And then,
do we want to table this then until the next meeting once we have that discussion, or?
Well, I think probably not, just to give them clarity, right?
I don't think we're going to be in any better position.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've laid out that it's good for now, but we can't make a commitment.
And it's starting being important for us to know if we're dealing with flat surface, how many people can we invite, and we're at the point where sending application out.
Do you give the vendors like a contract for the season?
Yes, we do.
That's a problem.
Is that the thing that was? This is the only way for us to retain them in case they find another place better to go.
But it's a problem. We can't sell the property, and then basically you're tying up property that's on the market for sale with a contract for seasonal activity. There's got to be this idea of delaying doesn't work in that concept. If she's signing contracts with people,
we signed them. So I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but we are tying those people to a spot at the farmers market. Does that mean that the spot cannot move? I'm not sure. We're tying them to.
Depends on how you describe it.
We tie them to a 10 by 10 or a 10 by 20 for the season.
But located in the farmers market, as located on the.
No.
I don't think it's that specific.
It's not that specific. So it's a spot at the farmers market.
I would write that contract to say that whoever sponsors
wherever the market may be
has the right to relocate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the spot.
Yeah.
It's
That's
just not
fine.
the address.
Okay.
That makes sense?
I think we're okay.
Well, the plan is for us to have parking too, so I mean, somehow we'll figure all this out. I mean, we'll figure this out.
Am I forgetting something?
My point is, only somebody
Yes.
coming in who says, I get 25% of my annual revenue from selling it to downtown
Right.
Sykesville at this location, put me over there, and I've, my revenue's dropped off, and you breach your obligations.
Gotcha.
Just also to address Anna's point, like you guys own the Baldwin lot. It's also
Currently.
yes. It's also why we would not have allowed ourselves to ask for use of property of the town for a property that you don't own. So the Baldwin lot, the Plan B, is also town owned.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Just making sure that.
All right. Well, I think we've got enough information to move forward for now. So,
I was actually being serious about the signage. So we need to address that as part of the approval of the location. This lot is unmarked and used very widely by a bunch of people, and that creates a bunch of issues during farmers market, during event, and out of those times too. So since it's town-owned, if there was the appropriate signage that says "Do not park there," and
where are you trying to get signed?
Sandusky lot, like no overnight parking or something like
Yes,
that. Somebody
exactly,
come to set up
exactly.
Sunday morning.
Oh,
There's
okay.
not cars sitting in there.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we should be.
I think what's happening, some people are getting a little toasted at the
They can get
bar,
toasted
and
on
then they're
another
getting a
lot.
ride home, which is a good thing.
Chief,
But
what
how
would
do we-
recommend for signage
Yeah.
if somebody leaves their car there overnight?
God, that's a mess.
No overnight parking, towed at owner's expense, something like that, you know, I mean.
Because it's simple enough, and that would just cut down on the resources we ask from the police when there is 6 phone calls to
Downside to that is they're gonna leave them in the back slot instead of Sandusky
Yeah.
lot, but do we care about that?
It's not a lot.
You know, in that lot.
It's a town lot.
Right,
Just
right.
a lot.
And you just need it in the front, the entrance of that lot. Like there would be 2 signs on each side of that drive.
As long as
in.
it's, you know, conspicuously placed so that somebody would see it pulling in there and not be able to say, well, I didn't see it when I, you know, so sure, probably at the entrance and.
There's only one entrance. There's only one entrance.
Yeah.
But we can certainly look at getting some signage there for no
Derek,
overnight
Public
parking.
Works usually makes up those signs, correct?
Yeah.
So can we ask Public Works to work with the police and the appropriate signage, and if they need to come back for additional funding from us to come back? Otherwise, I think there's a budget for signs, isn't there?
I think we're good.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
There are currently some people that use the lot permanently.
Yeah. Some of our neighbors.
Yeah, just to be.
Well, make it also
But
say.
they're not moving their truck there during the
They
market.
may have to move their truck there.
Those vehicles are not there on festival and farmers market, so I'm fine with
Well, it
them.
would probably behoove us to make an announcement and put it out in the news flash
Oh, yeah.
and so forth, that effective certain date, you know, no
Yeah, we
longer
better mark that
will we
down. Yeah.
allow overnight parking.
Well, I mean, if you can come up with a plan and come back to the council and let us know what the options are before actually posting signage. And then
Okay.
we can then
That's
come up
probably
with
a good
the
idea.
game plan.
And in the same spirit, as you know, we're organizing a parade down Main Street, and
Good,
we
I'm
wanted
glad you
to
mentioned
know, and we wanted to know if it would be okay for us after farmers market on that specific Sunday of July the 1st to have all the float diverted and exhibited, displayed on that parking lot for a few extra hours to allow everyone that did not get a chance to see the parade to check out the float, especially the one that would get a prize.
And that sounds cool to me.
We obviously
If you
would
got room
remove
for it.
that before the beginning of the weekend, before Friday, in order not to impact business and upcoming First Fridays and things.
So where you?
Time's the parade?
The parade, I think, starts at 2, correct?
2 o'clock to 3.
That's taking up a lot
The
of
brain behind the brains behind the
That is
operation.
Well, no, that's after the parade, right? It'll be after, but where are you gonna put folks
People are gonna be,
for the?
right.
Farmers market is, but the farmers market will be gone.
Yes, so the
Right.
float is a display of the floats.
Which means you have to block off that lot
Before the parade.
and have that.
It's okay because we will be just clearing up for farmers market, so it's easy to pull our sandwich board there. No one will get there. It will be really smooth between the closing, cleaning, and
Yeah.
yeah, we do have a
Well,
bad.
there's a lot of people that park at that lot for church and then go out to eat at the various restaurants after service whether it be back in time, or whether the cars be at Greenwood's garage.
No, we're talking about the property where the farmer's market operates, and the farmer's market is at 1, the St. Dusty lot.
St. Dusty
Yes.
lot?
No. So this way we know we will be clearing it up, blocking it with cone, and that's where the float would end up. So...
Sounds like it'll work.
Yes.
That'll work.
If someone managed to park there in between...
They will.
Then block them in with the floats.
They become a float. But and so on that, while we're on TV, we've got the cans ready for the donations. I would say if the business owners are here, you can get.
Southside corner has 5 out already.
That's awesome. Thank you. So get the cans out so we can get to raise some funds for it. Thank you for all the help on it. I think it's going to be awesome. We're looking to have fireworks. We've got some money already. We're halfway there on some of the lower stuff, so I think we can have a really good turnout. And then
That's going to be fun. And
once we get some of the additional funds too, I think the plan is to meet with Ellen if there's any monies left over, and then maybe decide to donate some to the DSC, maybe some to the firehouse, and then keep some for next year so we don't have such a big burden
I think
of fundraising.
we should also consider using that money to finance a national night out that is not long after that, and
Right.
could use a little bit of money for
Well, I guess my point is we'll have maybe have you involved with that too, sitting down and deciding where some of these monies can
You're
go.
going to give credit to the Warfield Development Corporation.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Yep.
Communicate there so it gets done.
Right. So while we're on TV tonight, the Warfield Development Corporation, we had a filming over there, so they were gracious enough to let us use the building as well. So the WDC as well as the TWC, the Warfield Collaborative, worked together with us and agreed to donate the money. So we got $1,500 from that and put that into the donation for us. So that was a nice kickoff donation for us because we're thinking the fireworks are about, she said about $3,000. I'm hoping to get a really nice show and maybe spend a little more than that. And then, of course, the parade, we don't know quite what the costs are going to be for that yet.
The TWC asked that they get recognized.
Yes, and they will. Yeah, they're going to. Yeah, so we're recognizing tonight the Warfield Collaborative. It was a great partner. Roger Conley was very generous in letting us do that.
What
so that
kind
worked
of
out great.
filming? I wish we had known. That sounds fun.
Yeah. Oh well, it was just for. It's not really a movie. It's more of a promotional to sell this thing. It's to hunt. It's a hunt a killer or something. Apparently, it's something where you get clues. I guess you buy this stuff. It's on the web. Then you you join this thing, and then they give you clues, and you try to figure out. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It's like
but next time there is something.
So it was a promo for that. It was just
keep
a promo.
us in the loop because that's something the connection would love to.
Yeah, it was really quick and kind of. They gave us like 7 days notice, and we pulled it off. So thanks for Dennis to point. I added his fee, so we would net $1,500.
And so with respect to the Downtown Sykesville Connections request for the location of the farmer's market at 714 Sandusky for the 2018 season, I'd like to make a motion to allow that to happen.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Well, thanks, Julie. Thank you for that as well. Everybody who's helped the market, everybody loves it.
Excuse us, picking up that new puppy.
Oh, all right. Yeah, you can't leave that thing too long. Eat the couch. All right. So we got a quick update on the Outlook 365 proposal. So I just wanted to.
You want me to take that?
Sure, you got it.
So Jared has done a lot of great work on this item. As some of you are aware, maybe not all of you, there are a lot of deficiencies with our current email system. It's through Swisher Mail. It's a service that is currently free to us. Apparently a private resident at some point in our history decided to pay for this for us, but it is not working. Some examples of the deficiency include not Jana, for instance, is my assistant and she cannot see my calendar. My calendar, if you put something on a calendar on your computer, you cannot see it on your phone and vice versa. There's a huge delay in getting emails. Someone can send me an email from next door and I don't get it for 5 minutes. So it's those kinds of things that just aren't working for us. We don't have a server, we're not on the cloud, so everything is kind of downloading to our machines and taking up space. It's a pretty antiquated system. So Jared has gone through, he's identified 2 options, Office 365 and Network Solutions. After doing some research, Office 365 is more expensive by about $600 annually. However, talking to our current IT provider, Celltech, they recommend that that's the best option to go with. It's kind of an industry best practice, best standard. So after talking to these 2 companies, it's staff recommendation that we go with Office 365. What I'm asking for tonight specifically is an approval not to exceed $5,000 for this first year. That will include the setup, getting everything migrated over and taken care of through a combination of Celltech and Office 365, purchasing our licensing and getting us operational, plus the additional funding for the first year. I think you can see here that it's about $5 per email per month. And we just want to pay those costs annually. So not to exceed $5,000 starting this year, and then next year not to exceed $2,000 annually. It's about $1,800, but we don't want to get too technical depending on what additional emails we have to bring online.
Just from experience, I've used 365, my current business and my previous, and it's amazing. Yep. You can, not saying that staff should be doing this, but you can have your business and your personal email all tied in together. Yeah. So for us as town council, we can have our,
that'd be beautiful.
Yeah.
Our Sykesville plus our personal, and we can see everything together.
And I have Network Solutions for one of my businesses, and it's horrible. I'm trying to get out of it.
Yeah. Well, we definitely thought the 365 proposal was the best one. And just the mailbox size, that's one of the issues I'm struggling with constantly, is the small mailbox size.
Mail quota.
Yeah, mail quota. So you'll get 50 gigabytes per person.
I keep deleting everything with attachments.
Swishmail is not very user-friendly. I'm trying to forward, copy, paste, and it's just not, it's not equated.
One of the things that we do have to keep in mind is our email, the Sykesville.net domain.
Yes.
So they'll have to take care of that, because I think that's the Swish as well, correct?
Yes. So we're migrating everything over. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So and as she said, Brian's he can handle the whole thing. And the good news is, it's a government version, what we found out too, which gives us the protection of
confidential.
It meets all of the standards that we currently are not meeting by being a municipality. The security level is much higher, and again, we're going to be on the cloud, so just the retention of our stuff is a little bit more secure as well. So it's all around a better service, and it's used by several municipalities. I've never heard of.
Plus, we'll get Word, Office, and Excel included, and you get all the latest updates. We don't have to keep paying for those. So.
Right. The licensing is a part of our monthly per user fee, so it's all there.
I think it's a no-brainer.
Okay, so I'm gonna need maybe a little help with this motion, but make a motion to approve spending of up to $5,000 for this fiscal year, and up to $2,000 for following fiscal years for updating our email server to Office 365.
Second.
If I could just make just a minor adjustment to that.
Please, I said I would like help.
Correct. For future years, I just said that we add it to the budget and don't limit the dollar amount.
No, right. It's going to be exactly
just for this.
You get that, Carrie?
Got that?
Thank you.
Do you have a contract though?
We do not have. This is a quote, so we do not have a contract.
Next year right away. There might be more if you don't.
Well, this is just to move forward for the initial.
We're moving forward this year, and
will it be the contract fixes next year as well?
That's a good point. Will we get a long-term contract, or is it a yearly, annual?
So it's annual. You can
subscription.
Yeah, it's an annual subscription. So every year we'll have to renew that. But we'll build it in as a line item.
But can we
my
lock
question
in?
was, as a hook, they give you the 5,000 and the 2,000 for the first 2 years. Is it going to be in one document? In which case, you may want to go ahead and allocate that budget for it. Now, is my point.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
It's not gonna be two separate
And maybe we should look at, is there a better way to get a longer term and maybe lock in the rate? Maybe we should check on that too. That's one question I forgot to ask. We should ask Jared about that. Maybe if you do 5-year, will they lock in the rate at a current versus doing 1-year annuals? You might end up paying more every time you renew, because I don't suspect we'll ever get rid of it. So we should try to get a good deal.
The offer suggests that they roll it over every year, and that's the way they do business, and this is the incentive to give you, two together, so you.
Yeah, so we can look at it, but I think
Go forward.
Good thing to bring up. So,
Go forward.
all right, we'll move forward and we can vet out some of the details
And
for
you
you.
needed a vote, Mayor.
Yep. All those. So we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
And there's rejoicing throughout the land.
Great. Thank you so much for that. God, it will make everybody's life so much easier.
We've only been talking about that for 4 years.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
At the same time, we gave away the food.
Check.
All right, surplus of the public works items. So Derek has recommended surplusing, and that is just a process that we need to do in order before we can sell items. So the Pro 150 walk behind mower, serial number 9888088, valued at approximately $500, and the 2002 Ford dump truck.
That was totaled in 2017.
Yes, the one that was totaled, and then that value was $1,500 to $2,000 for salvage. So, if everybody's okay with that, can we surplus those two items?
I'll make a motion to surplus the Pro 150 walk-behind mower and the 2002 Ford dump truck.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I do want to say thank you to Derek. He's made some really good progress at getting rid of some old stuff that we weren't using and getting some revenue brought in. So, thank you. Right. On the auction site. So, thank you very much for that. So that's good. All right. So I don't think we have any other business for the open session.
Are we going to consult with legal counsel about the blue caboose in closed session?
Yes.
Yes, please.
So, is it okay to add that on there? I guess we can add that on there, right?
Yeah.
We can.
Okay, so we'll talk to legal counsel a little bit about the blue caboose as well. And then we'll find out about the bench. We're going to talk to the HDC and get you some more details on that, and they'll follow up with you. Okay. All right, so read the HDC.
Okay, so closed session. The meeting is proposed to be closed pursuant to the general provisions of the annotated Code of Maryland, Section 3-305B. 1, to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom it has jurisdiction, or any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. And 7, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter. First item is personnel, police officer, confidential personal information. Second item is personnel, FY 2019 personnel, budget review, confidential personal information. And the third item is blue caboose, consult with legal counsel.
Thank you.
And before we close, I would like to recognize Frank Roberts here tonight. Frank is running for the county commissioner. Did you want to get up and say a few things, Frank?
I have, 20-minute presentation.
That's why we limited you to 2 minutes, sir.
No, or less. I'm not going to do a speech. I just want to thank you guys. It's fun to sit here and watch you guys. I know Chris took some time off, Alex took some time off, and went to lob oranges at us when we were sitting up at the table there. But it's fun to see you guys work up here. Aretha, you got a good group to work with, so I think they all have the town best interest at heart. I don't see anybody that's going to stab you in the back and stuff like that too. So it's good, but it's true. It's true. So, but just to let you know, so yes, I'm looking forward to it. I believe strongly in term limits, and so I term limited myself on the council. I admire the people like Leo that can stay on, and Chris and people like that too that take time off and come back, and I admire what you guys do. Not always do I agree with you 100% of the time. I don't agree with my wife 100% of the time, and she's always right. So that means I'm wrong sometimes. But yes, so that's why I decided I was either run back for town council again or try county commissioner. That was the people asking me, and so I threw my hat in for county commissioner. So that way I can help out Sykesville and the greater Sykesville area, Eldersburg, too, in a better way. I mean, you guys we've all done a great job here with Sykesville. I mean, you know, coolest small town in America, got a lot of great people here. And I just want to take that same positive energy that we did here at Sykesville and make it in a bigger, you know, help out the county. So that's why I want to do this. So thanks for the time. If you have ideas during the campaign and stuff too, and say, hey Frank, you know, you need to look at something, please let me know. So you know how I am. I'm open to all you guys anytime, guys and gals. So thank you guys so much. Welcome to the new people.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for the time.
Well, thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
And full disclosure, Frank was the council president for Sykesville for years.
6 years.
Served
6
on,
years.
Yep, and served on the council, so thank you so much.
A lot of fun. Yeah,
for all your service, and good luck.
And I had to keep my mouth shut after a while over here.
Yeah. All right.
Motion for a 5-minute recess.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess.
Best of luck.
If you